For November the 22nd, 2024, we talk about Tetris Forever, the Thaumaturge, Pipe Push Paradise, and much more. Welcome to level 523. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Moxie.
And I'm Jala Prendez.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Going to get started right away and remind people that Duckstream is happening, I think in 2 weekends from when you're hearing this. It is the first weekend of December, December the 6th through the 8th, 48 hours streaming live for the Transactive Gender Project out of the Lewis and Clark College out in Portland. It is a great cause, more important now than ever. I wish I could stop saying that. It'd be cool to stop saying that, but if you're looking to fight back the darkness a little bit, I think that would be a fine way to make a run at it anyway. But yeah, watch our socials and stuff for details. I think I've got the art done. I'm just waiting for Gary to sign off on it for the t-shirt and such. But yes, that is what I wanted to hit here right away. And Jala's back.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row, unprecedented.
Yeah, a rarity. I'm sure there's precedent for that. I don't have the data, but
surely we live in precedented times.
Yeah, Ben is still recovering, so hopefully we'll have him back soon.
I did not put him in the cistern. I cannot account for him.
No. Yeah. So I don't know. I actually did something this weekend.
Yay, tell us about it.
Yeah. My brother and I a while ago planned a trip up to Michigan. Not necessarily because we were champing at the bit to go to Michigan, but he had a line on a very cheap like cottage rental next to a lighthouse, which is pretty cool. So we decided a couple months ago, like, yeah, let's do that. It'll be good timing, regardless. And it was real good. It was like Northwestern Michigan. So like on Saturday, we went to Traverse City, which is a neat little town. Super progressive based on what I saw. And they're like kind of downtown and stuff like that is really got all kinds of cute tourist shops and stuff like that. And they
is that Cherry Central?
Yeah, it's up there. Everything is cherry themed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do they, I assume, grow cherries there?
Michigan is a whole cherry thing. Michigan is like cherries and blueberries are like the primary agricultural.
So it's like Georgia with peaches.
Yes. Yeah. But there was also we went to a market that was in an old asylum.
Oh,
like a not quite a I don't know, scrap sale or whatever, but like just farmers market stuff, and then a couple of permanent shops that are set up there. So that was cool.
So
did they have a creative
stayed
name?
Alone in a cabin by a lighthouse, presumably on the coast, and then spent time in asylum.
Yes.
I'm going to need you to send me a sign if you've been kidnapped by a deep one and need help.
What a strange thing to say. Moving on. No. And then we went to, on Sunday, we went to Sleeping Bear Dunes, climbed as high into the dunes as we could until we got completely exhausted, then worked our way back down and took a couple more walks. Went to like a cool overlook or whatever. Not a place that I, would have especially gone and sought out, without knowing how cool it was. But going there told me hey, this is pretty cool. Even in November and stuff. So it was a good time and a nice distraction. Yeah.
Did you learn the story behind the Sleeping Bear Dunes name?
No. Do you know the story behind that?
It's crushingly depressing. So
okay. Well, now you have to give me the short version of it at least.
It's a Native American folk tale about a mother bear and her two cubs that were, I think, trapped on an island and tried to swim back to the mainland, and the two cubs drowned just before making it. And those are the two dunes. So,
well, that's
and
a bummer.
then the mother bear cursed them and summoned the deep ones.
What a strange thing to say. Anyway, that's me. That's what I've been up to.
Very cool.
Let's see. Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I guess the big new thing for me is I got a new dishwasher.
Okay.
Our old one went kaput, and just decided, like, I'll make lots of sounds like I'm working, but I'm not actually going to work. That's beneath me now. So we had to replace it. And that got installed today. It had its maiden voyage, and overall, like, everything went great, smooth. But you don't realize just how, like, attached you've become to the specific layout of your dishwasher until you have to figure out a new one.
Okay.
Like, it's the same size. I swear to God, it's the same size, but I don't know where anything goes. It's like, I had a spot for the plates and for the utensils and for this and that. And now it's just the Wild West. It's like, I don't know where anything belongs in this new layout.
This seems like a problem that'll be sorted out in about less than a week.
Yeah, probably. But for right now, down is up is down. I don't know what to do with my life.
Okay.
I don't know where any of these dishes go, and it is quite amazing the things that you take for granted. The pathways that your brain has forged.
Yeah. So if you accidentally put a plate in a bowl spot, it'll just come out filthier than it started.
I'm led to believe the dishwasher will explode.
Okay, cool.
That's how it feels.
Well, you want to avoid
anyway.
that.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah,
I think you'll just transmute the plate into a bowl.
Oh, actually, that could be useful. We're constantly out of something, so I would take that. Anyway, yeah, that's nothing fancy, just a new dishwasher to I guess got to break it in,
Yeah. You'll learn it. You'll learn it eventually.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. Jala, how about you?
Yeah, so I don't have a whole hell of a lot that's new because, I'm doing a lot of stuff at home, and then there's just like personal life stressors. So the only pleasant thing I can mention at this time would be that in my server we are doing a Kindred the Embraced watch party. This is the Vampire the Masquerade TV show that went for one season back in, like, I think it's 95 or something like that. We covered it on Monster Dear Monster once upon a time, but, like, I think I'm actually going to cover it again on my show with one of the folks who was on that old MDM episode, and then a new person who was not. So that's going to be fun. That'll be at the end of this year for me. But anyway, other than that, I just decided that today as I was setting up the second watch party for that. But otherwise, it's very, very cheesy. If people don't already know what this is, go look it up. You can find all of the episodes. They're not great quality, but they are on YouTube. I have a DVD with all of them, and that's how we're watching them. But
and I got to say, mid-90s, not necessarily a great era for World of Darkness, aesthetically, at the very least.
And this was like one of the spelling productions as well. So, it is what it is. But then too, like, the reason why the series stopped, I mean, like, you can tell they obviously had a lot of writer turnover during the season, but then also the guy who plays the main character, Julian Luna, actually died in, like, a fiery motorcycle crash.
Oh no.
Like right after the first season was over. And so, like, they just could not get a new guy to be the same character. Like, he is really, like, most of what sells the show. So,
That's a bummer.
Yeah, but, like, boy, is it some, like, there is a character in there whose name is Frank, and Frank is a detective, and he is just, like, this guy with a burr up his butt, and he's, like, got the annoyed New Yorker accent, so this is how it ties in. Moxie.
Yes.
Yay. So anyway, like, there's a very funny series of characters in this. So I'm looking forward to the next episode in which my favorite character turns into a super creep, but then also looks like Steven Tyler for a minute. So
it's the same thing.
It is the same thing, really. So
let's see. Moxie, how about you?
Not a whole lot. I went to the circus last week. So it was the I need to get the name right, because they actually do tour around, and people should definitely go see them if they have a chance. It's Venardo's Circus, so it's a independent circus. Real small. I don't know, 20 to 30 people maybe, and very focused on acrobatics acts, things like that, balancing, aerial silks, all that sort of thing, and just very, very excellent, excellent performances, very good quality. And because it's so small, you're like right there. I think I was sitting like halfway back from the stage, and I was only like 2 or 3 seats from the stage or something.
Okay.
And it's also kind of funny because like I said, it's super small. So like when there's intermission and you go get cotton candy or whatever, you're like, wait a minute, the person who just sold me cotton candy is the contortionist. And so it's really cool. It's also very old school, so you can see like all the stagehands and stuff like running around and like I don't know, like cranking the winches or to adjust the the hoop that flies through the air for the one of the performers, or all that sort of stuff.
It flies through the air with the greatest of effort.
Exactly. There was definitely there's a kid there who this was his first season performing. He was like 3rd generation, so both his parents and grandparents were in the circus, and the kid was definitely secretly Robin. Like there's just no way that he does not become Nightwing upon growing up. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. There are no clowns because people are terrified of clowns. Mm-hmm. But what they did have is a guy who basically played. I'm blanking on the actor's name. The tramp from the old silent movies.
Yeah, Charlie Chaplin.
Yes. Played that sort of character. So like effectively was clown, but not terrifying.
Okay.
But just did bits where like pretending to be he's the conceit being that he's a audience member, but keeps like accidentally ending up on the stage and like as part of the performance.
This sounds like a clown that has successfully fooled you into believing it doesn't exist, and that is somehow more terrifying.
Yes, that is the most dangerous clown. But yeah, highly recommended. The whole thing is also kind of a musical. Like all of the ringmaster, like all of his line is basically like musical number style singing, which is delightful. Mm-hmm. But yeah, highly recommend if you get a chance. Circuses are always great, and this is a particularly good one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Watch people do impossible things with their bodies.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I've just been watching their teaser, their highlight reel on their website, and the guy who looks kind of like he's a Mortal Kombat character on the high rings is very funny to me.
I think the best one is he did kind of a silks thing, and one of the fun things about this is since it's such a small venue, the performers very much play off of the crowd, and you can very much see kind of their reactions to the crowd, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And he does a thing, there's like a trick in aerial silks where basically you like unwrap the silks and it looks like you're like falling and then you catch yourself. And like he does that and everyone gasps and like you can just see like the shit-eating grin on his face. Just it was very good.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Cool. Well, I think it's about time to talk about video games. And in order to do that, we need to, do the regular kind of show. What with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with
The Grind.
The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the last period of time or so. Does anybody have anything new?
Got a couple new things, actually.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, sweet.
Yes. I also finished some old things, but we'll start with new this time, and then I can kind of just quickly touch on the old stuff. True to my word from last week's End Boss, I started playing through the Spyro remastered trilogy.
Ooh.
Okay.
I thought you said you had new things.
I guess, everything old is new again.
Yeah,
what now?
It's new to Dennis and it's new to Games Pass.
Yeah, new to Games Pass, and a very well done remake. Like, it looks pretty. I was surprised that with the Spyro characters, it felt like they got even more of the emotive animation kind of makeover than the Crash characters did. Which I would put Crash as a little bit more cartoony than Spyro. Maybe not much, but the team that redid Spyro really nailed just making it look like it comes straight out of a Pixar movie.
Spyro games also came out later and therefore kind of had a higher kind of baseline of production value to that.
A little bit more time for mastery. Yeah. So I've played all the way through the first game and then kind of started into the second. In the first game, you're going around the dragon realms, trying to free these larger, older dragons that have been trapped in crystal by the bad guy. And each level has a certain number of dragons that you can go find. You're also collecting, treasure and dragon eggs and all this stuff. But it's definitely got a different feel than the second game, which feels like it tries to open up to be much more of a, just kind of sandbox is the wrong term, because it's still very bespoke and well-designed levels for platforming. But it kind of has more like, hey, you find someone who needs something. It's got quests in it versus just going in and every time okay, I got to find the crystal dragons and I got to find the gems and then I, get out. So it's clear they kind of were leveling up their thinking on just the game design and what the flow of going through the game looks like. I will say it's very funny coming back to this as an adult and realizing that in the first game where you rescue these dragons and every time they pop out of the crystal, great design. There's all these, every realm has a different theme. So one is the artisan realm and the magic realm and the peacekeeper realm, which is the brutes or whatever. They're all incredibly well designed and have these nice little quirks. Like any one of the ones that you rescue looks like it could have been a main character. It's got that much personality to it. But then you also realize, oh my God, there is not a single female presenting dragon in this entire game.
Huh.
Just kind of missed that one. And literally you are
didn't
rescuing.
know dragons just split into two. That's how you make new dragons.
It's got to be, but you're also rescuing dragon eggs, so they're coming from somewhere. I don't know what
that's just food they make for each other as gifts.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, you're literally rescuing hundreds of these dragons, and they've all got nice little bits and personality quirks. Just none of those are female, I guess. So it's kind of never crossed my radar as a child, but coming back to it as an adult, it sticks out like a sore thumb. In fact, there are no female presenting NPCs or bad guys or anything in the game except for one.
Oh,
There is a gigantic, brutish, quote unquote wife character, for lack of a better term, that slaps the puny warriors and gets them to run at you when they're actually scared. So that is the one, and it shows up in one level. So
So is the fairy not in this game?
Oh no, I guess sorry, I completely glazed over that because that functions as like a save button. Yeah, when you rescue the dragons, they're gone, but there's a fairy that pops up to save your progress. I don't think she has any speaking lines or anything like that. So
I just remember one of the games one of the power-ups is you get kissed by the fairy and gain the power of horny.
Yes. Makes your flames extra hot. I think that's the second game. Because they do a lot more with like special power-ups in areas with the second game.
It's not a fairy though; it's a firefly, right?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't judge Spyro's preferences.
Hey, it's Spyro's business.
That's right. But yeah, so first game is it is deliciously bite-sized. Like it was exactly what I wanted to be like. Oh, I dip in. I don't have to spend too much time collectathoning. The progress gates were all very generous in terms of being easy to pass to get through and see the final boss. So excellent. Second game, they got better. Introduce, female presenting characters and all that stuff. But they went the furry route with it.
Okay.
So it is. Yes,
so the game is now 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's like, oh man, this was probably an awakening for a couple people.
Yeah,
undoubtedly. Although anything on the internet you can say that about. Yeah. But yeah, there is a brother and sister. One is a fawn, magical a puck kind of deal, a girl, and then there is a cheetah that is her brother. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what's going on there. Makes about as much sense as the dragon genetics going on, but who am I to judge? Found family and whatnot. So, a more diverse character set in the second game. Like I said, it's a little bit more open and story or quest driven, I guess. And then Moxie, as you mentioned, there's much more kind of like in this area you get unlimited flight, or in this area you get unlimited charge or whatever. There's like gates that you pass through, and then that's the thing for the area you're in. But yeah, it's a nice little palette cleanser. An individual level does not take very long to go through, although there's plenty to explore if you want to go around. But it's nice to pop in and pop out and get a little platforming palette cleanser.
Yeah, I remember too, and grant this was, years and years ago. I remember too having great, very, very much being kind of the Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie, like having a great feeling of verticality and exploration and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do a lot on that front. Bonus is now in the second one you can like swim underwater, whereas in the first one water was instant death, so they had like an Assassin's Creed kind of thing going on.
You would think a dragon would not like water.
Yeah, well, you have to buy swimming lessons off of a bear. Again, the characters in this make no sense, but I'm here for it.
Am I correct? Like Spyro's like main movement ability is the gliding, right?
He can glide, yes. He also charges is the other big thing, which is, you move a lot faster and your horn's down so you can take out things in front of you, but your turning radius is a lot more limited. Add to that blowing flames, of course. And a lot of the enemy design is around like, okay, I either need to flame this enemy or charge this enemy. And I need to do that in the right combo at the right time so that they don't get through my defenses.
Gotcha.
So I recall that being something that I kind of liked is the fact that, you're explicitly a juvenile dragon. So that's why you can't, fly and your flames go like 2 feet and whatnot.
Yes. Which makes it obvious that nobody is helping you after you rescue them against this like, society ending threat. But yeah, he's a youngin. They play off that in the second one. Like you're kidnapped-ish, diverted by the brother and sister characters that I mentioned earlier. because they're trying to get a dragon to help them save their realm. And so they're like, oh, this is a dragon? I thought, I was expecting a little bit more. And you get to show them what's what. Yeah.
Also,
it's a fun trip.
The second game apparently only had like 6 voice actors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy who voices the cheetah voiced 3 other characters.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny. I wonder if I'll recognize it when I run into him. But yeah, so that is like my, all right, I just need something light game to play. Actually, I'm going to bounce back and forth between old and new here, because to tell you about the other new game, I want to close the book on one of the older games. I finished Pipe Push Paradise.
Okay.
The puzzle challenge game.
PPP.
And yeah, PPP. Personally identifiable pinformation. It's stayed really high quality throughout. Like, it just feels like it doesn't wear out its welcome on any one mechanic, and the puzzles stay challenging and have you thinking in kind of this weird spatial way that is really hard, quote unquote, language to learn. But yeah, I finished that. The final puzzle basically like takes place all over the entirety of the map that you've been working your way through. And I always love it when a game does that. Like, the final exam is across everything, literally. And then there's a bonus island of challenge puzzles that I've done a couple. I find it interesting the more complex the puzzles are in terms of mechanics. So Pipe Push Paradise doesn't introduce much. They introduce, I think, like ditches, like platforms that rotate your pipes 90 degrees, and then magnetic pipes that will like latch on to another pipe when they touch it. Just those 3 things. But the more complex you get in using those, it felt like that drove the difficulty down instead of up, just because maybe the possibility space for how to solve it gets smaller the more of these mechanics you're layering on. And I guess some of the earlier puzzles, it's probably a combination of like I was still learning the language of this puzzle, and it just felt like any potential way to move these pieces could be a way to solve it. Like it felt truly not directionless, but like any way I could approach it was feasible to be the way. Whereas in these later levels where it's like really complicated and difficult, you're looking at it and going, okay, well, the only way this could possibly work is if I got this to happen. And then the challenge comes from getting that to happen rather than figuring out even how to try to solve it, if that makes any sense. But yeah, delightful puzzle game. And it got me wanting more puzzle games with just kind of a unique take on how you move through the world, if that makes sense, which led me to a game called Snakebird. Does this ring a bell for anyone?
No.
It is.
Sounds delicious.
I've heard of it, but it sounds super indie.
This is different than Snake RX. Snakebird, yeah. So you play controlling these snake birds, I guess, these colorful strips of bird that move around like snake on your phone, right? Where once they move through an area, the rest of their body is going to move through that area.
Yeah.
But it's not a top down kind of view. It is from the side. So like the laws of physics are in effect as you're moving around. And you're trying to climb up different platforms and maneuver around the level to get to the exit, accomplishing objectives like eating all the pieces of fruit along the way, or getting multiple snake birds to the exit at once. But the way that movement works, like as long as there's a part of the snake bird touching the ground, it will hold every other part of the snake bird up. But the second that moves and comes off the end, right? Because as you're moving forward, you're rear end is following you, that can like suddenly drop you when you weren't expecting, or it can force you to like think creatively.
Snakebird never skips abs day.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is, it's hard to describe the very visual kind of thing. But it is a very funky way of moving through the world. Combine that with the fact that you might be trying to like stack two birds on top of each other, or there's, different elements like pieces of the world you can push around. When you eat a piece of fruit, you get longer. Mm-hmm. And it kind of like your front will extend, but your back will stay where it was. And doing that at the right time and in the right direction factors into like being able to solve all of these puzzles. So really, like, this was a great way to continue the fun I was having with Pipe Push Paradise. On top of that, the animation for this is absolutely wonderful. It's not complicated by any stretch of the imagination. It's got a bit of a Saturday morning cartoon feel to it. Mm-hmm. A more modern cartoons like a Bluey or whatever, where it's stuff feels a little bit more like a cutout, but just the birds are so emotive as you're moving them around the level, and like you move them into a tight space and their beak gets all scrunched up until it like springs back into place when you get back into an open space. And when you're not directly controlling one, if you're switching between two birds, like the other bird goes to sleep. And it's just like, it is adorable in every sense of the word. As you're playing through these very challenging puzzles.
So when you say that this is Snake, what I immediately picture is the time pressure. Mm-hmm. Because Snake is like, okay, the snake is getting longer, but also it's moving faster as it gets longer, trying to drive you to a crisis. By looking at video, this seems like time only advances when you move.
Yeah, this is not an action game at all. This is pure puzzle where when you push a direction, your head moves in that direction and the rest of your body slides to catch up. And then you hold still until the next time you press a button. So you can stop and think. And there's no platforming or moving pieces that you have to account for, at least that I've seen so far. But yeah, it does its thing really well in terms of entering a level and going, this is impossible. There's no way to get there. And then you sit and think about it and you try some things that don't work and you're like, wait, maybe. And then, you try some more things. It's got that really good puzzle sweet spot where you go every level from feeling impossible to maybe there's a way to, oh, snap, I see it now. Although there have definitely been times where it's like, I solved it. Wait, how did I solve that? Wait, how did I? Okay, I'm up here now. This is great. I don't understand why.
Yeah. So does this have co-op? Because this seems like something where each person is controlling one Snakebird would be pretty sweet.
That could be fun. I have not seen that. Anytime there's multiple birds, you are pressing a button to swap between them. So you cannot move both at a single time. It could open up some really interesting possibility spaces where like you need to input each of your moves simultaneously. That would be really interesting. Because as long as you basically like end your turn touching a flat surface, it doesn't matter if you were kind of like hovering over the abyss in the middle of it. So if you're 3 spaces long, you can cross a gap of 2 spaces. Just because you'll start with your very end on a platform, and then you'll move forward and end with your head on the other platform. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to play with. The other thing I wanted to mention that was just really interesting to me is the way they do their like overworld level selection. Mm-hmm. So you start in and a map with a grid of levels, and you go to level 1, and then you can go to 2 or 3. They're both like one's up and one's to the right. And then when you beat that one, it's like whatever levels are next to the level you beat become unlocked. You can't see what's there in advance. And at first it kind of progresses like you expect. 1, okay, I can do 2 or 3, and then I can do 4 or 5, or, and so on and so forth. They all connect. And then around like level 8, it unlocked level 9 and level 47.
Okay.
And yeah, it just like, I guess I'll try level 47. which was crazy because there are all these like mechanics and things that I hadn't seen before. But I actually kind of love the decision because those early levels are pretty easy. And there's, I think we talked previously about the consideration of like ramping you up into difficulty and teaching you at each step of the way, how it works. And it's necessary in those cases to kind of teach to the lowest common denominator to make it so that anyone can come and figure this out. Whereas, a lot of people are going to be able to make some jumps or connections that others might not be able to. And so just the option to be like, hey, if this is too easy, just jack it up by 40 levels and see how you do. Worked really well. And then I could continue on from like 47 onwards. And then there was a jump to like 60. And that was very rewarding in terms of keeping up the pressure on the puzzle solving. It also created some funny instances though, where like I go to level 64 and then unlocks level 65 and 63. And if I go to 63, it's very clearly a stepping stone level to figure out 64. And it's like, oh, if I had come to 63 first, I probably would have had an easier time with 64.
Yeah.
It was a simpler version of the next level. So doing it out of order, buyer beware. But it is kind of fun to just zip through the game and kind of be able to rise straight to a challenge level that feels right for you.
Mm-hmm.
So most important question, do they do anything special for level 69?
I don't think I've unlocked that one yet. I'll have to go in and check. But I assume it will be two birds that start facing opposite directions.
I mean, that would it would be amazing if that was the only reference they just put in there. See who noticed.
Yeah. Oh, come on, it's the internet. Everyone will notice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as you're going through these numbered levels, there is clearly a growth in difficulty, and you get these kind of jumping off points if you want to kind of skip forward and try something a little more challenging. But you can always go back and kind of pick up the trail of the regular growth if you find yourself out of your depth. So that I just really liked that design. It was a very accommodating way to offer up the puzzle game.
Nice.
Yeah, so that is Snakebird.
Like, are you on a tear? Or are you going to look for more like this? Or are you pretty sated on the brainy stuff?
Well, so what I'm playing it's called Snakebird Complete. So I guess this was a collection of smaller games or whatever. I'm about halfway through the first one. It looks like there's a second one to play. And as long as I'm having fun, I'll keep on hacking at it. But yeah, I think specifically the thing that this and Pipe Push Paradise have in common is that it's spatial puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like having to think about shapes in a way that is counterintuitive. So if anyone's got recommendations for games along that line, I'm all ears.
I mean, I think the final boss of this is Steven's sausage roll, but somebody would probably come in in the comments and say that something else would suffice.
I want to say I have Steven's sausage roll. I think I played it back in the day, although did not finish it. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe that's where this all lands.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's my other new game. The final just check in. Excuse me. Is I have completed the Call of Duty Zombies Easter egg quest. So this is within the zombie mode. If you know the right places to look and things to grab in order to do stuff in, you kind of unlock this story that's going on beneath the surface. Culminates in a very difficult 3-wave boss fight, if you will, and managed to clear that in time to get the badge for getting it without the director mode, which is now out, that kind of walks you straight through it. And I think I'm done.
Okay.
Got the thing. It was fun, but not feeling the need to like grind for levels. When the highest I've been able to get is like mid 30s, and I see people, that are quote unquote serious about zombies regularly being up in the 200s and stuff. It's like, all right, that was fun, but it's not my thing.
You've seen the content. Like,
yeah. Everything else is just numbers getting bigger.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. I recommend it. Like it is. I was worried going into the Easter egg quest that it would be too arcane and too obtuse to actually be fun. But I think they nailed the level of difficulty. And once you understand what's going on, and you know the steps, it becomes quite enjoyable. So, well done on that front. I got what I wanted from it, and on to the next thing.
Woo!
Nice.
Woohoo! And that is me.
Okay. Moxie, did you have any more Call of Duty stuff to throw onto that?
Not a whole lot. I'm, just continuing on with it, but I don't know that anything too earth-shattering. I've been a little bit experimenting in the zombie mode with some of the weirder weapons you can get. So every weapon in the game you can upgrade with what's called a pack-a-punch. And all of the weapons, it makes them more powerful, but some of them, it does weird things. Like one of the sniper rifles, it makes fire explosive bullets. And there's a couple of guns that you fire multiple bullets per shot. Things like that. So I've been experimenting with that a little bit, but other than that, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Really kind of getting ready, gearing up for Stalker 2. So that's what I've been, yeah.
Yeah, that comes out tomorrow as we're recording, right?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Comes out on my birthday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's not like a pox upon this land. Although I understand that I understand that the file size is quite big. The download is big.
Yeah, I think it's a like day one release for Xbox and Game Pass, and every time that happens, it seems like they get screwed over by a game that should be good but ends up not being. So,
oh no.
No. Well, we're gonna keep our hopes up.
Yeah, I mean, I removed Call of Duty to have room for that. So
Yes. Because both of those are the size of a hard drive.
yes.
Yeah. Did you have anything else, Moxie?
no, that's all I got.
Okay. Jala, how about you?
Yeah, so something that I didn't mention in the banter, but I just realized is a thing that's happening and like soon is that with all of the things that are occurring in the world, it is important for me to upgrade some of my equipment and stuff. And so I'm going to be getting a new PC here very shortly. Like we're talking the day that this episode drops to everyone is the day that I should be getting my new PC in. So that means I can set that up, and that means I can also go back to playing a bunch of stuff, not just restricted to my Steam Deck, since I am primarily a PC player, PC and Switch. So there's that, and that also means that I can stream again. So maybe I can, like pull up some stuff that I had started working on like years ago before my stuff broke. So maybe I can pick that stuff up again if I remember where in the world I am in those games, and continue those, and then go forward with my life. But also, hopefully that means things will be good and like regular for some of my game playing. So it's not just limited to me laying in bed with whatever is the smallest thing I can hold. There's definitely games that I want to play that I just can't on the little tiny screen. But I also, even though I have all the stuff to connect it to some larger screen, it's like, that's a lot of hassle. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So, hopefully, for example, I have this itch to play Vaporum, which is a dungeon crawler. I've talked about it like several years ago at this point, but it's a dungeon crawler that is kind of like if you took Legend of Grimrock and BioShock and they had a baby.
Yeah, you've talked about this.
Yeah. So I played some of it, and then I got stuck, and like I set it down, and I meant to go back to it, but then my computer died, and then like it's just the text and everything is too small on a small screen. So I haven't had the opportunity to go back to that. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. But also, any other stuff that I played that I actually have played in the last week I have continued to play the Thaumaturge. And, I have some other additional thoughts about it now that I've played some more content because, so it basically defaults your current quest to whatever the primary quest is at the time, like the main quest. You gain a whole bunch of side quests, but they all get toggled to a menu. You don't it doesn't ask you if you want to make that your main quest. It just goes into a menu somewhere. So you have to go pull up the log and find them. And a lot of them are ones that are only available for a certain amount of time. So that's unintuitive and weird, and I don't really like that at all. Like, they should at least give you the option to pick, when you get a new quest, do you want to move to that quest, or do you want to keep on the one you're on right now, or something, or at least pull up the list of quests and let you review them, But in either case, so it doesn't do that. So I was like, oh, I actually have a lot of side quests that I need to be doing right now. And then I went through and I started working on side quests. And then I was kind of bothered because some of them actually have like a real payoff and they feel like, okay, this side quest, even though it's not part of the main story, is additive to my experience, right? But then there's other ones where like you go through all this stuff where you're collecting a bunch of stuff and then you find the right day and time to be in a certain place to do a certain thing according to the side quest. And then all you get is just a screen, like some text on a screen that tells you like a brief summary of what happened. And that's it. And it's like, what? I don't know if this was just like they intended to fill it out with some more information and some more stuff, and then they just didn't have time, and so they just cut it, but they left the quest bits there.
This is like the movie that ends with them abruptly blowing up the guy, and then it's like just text summary.
No lesson.
Yeah. So like, community member Dog Nozzle had played this previously, like right after it came out or so, and he had given it a 7.5 out of 10. And when I first started playing it, I'm like, I wonder why that scores a little bit on a little lower than I would have thought, given the writing and the world and stuff like that. But then when I started seeing these side quests, I was like, okay, well, one of the gripes that he has is about these side quests and how like some of them are just basically a big old waste of time, except for you get experience from them, which you need to level up for the combat. So, there is that, but basically Dog Nozzle said, I would skip this if I, had my druthers. So the other thing I have to say about it too is that in doing even just the main quest stuff, like I finished up Act 1, there's 3 acts total, so I'm about a third through the game. I'm in Act 2, somewhere in Act 2 right now, towards the front half of it. And I'm just going through main quest stuff and some of the side quest stuff. There are a lot of points that I am starting to feel where they put combat, but it's something that could have been resolved with just dialogue options, especially since your Thaumaturge has the capacity to manipulate people's emotions once he knows some stuff about their motives and things. Okay. Which is all you're doing is running around and pinging your spider sense to go find objects that have information about people and then using that to your advantage. So that should be dialogue choices. That shouldn't be combat. There's a lot of superfluous combat that just feels like padding. And then, when you get into here's a combat and then a little bit of story and then here's another combat, it's then it gets to be too much, right? I don't mind the combat. I don't need this much of it, and then I am in a side quest and I don't know if I'm just not the right level for it yet or what, but there's a difficulty spike and I'm like, wow, is this vampire? Is this vampire for real? Cause I'm trying to get this Salutor or, one of the critters that Thaumaturges can recruit and use kind of like Pokemon. And this Salutor's name is Morana. So anybody who knows what that quest is and has played this game and knows what that is, you can tell me whether or not this is just I came to it too soon. There's also another one around that I was going to try to continue to get the the Djinn, that's another Salutor that is an optional side quest thing that I also have on my plate. But I'm in the middle of the Mirana fight. I dropped it down to story mode, okay?
Okay.
And I'm getting my ass handed to me. And I'm like, okay, I'm not that bad with tactics. Like, what is happening?
Well, if only the side quest connected to anything.
Yeah, like, and the thing is that I was just concerned because I was like, man, I know this is a limited time quest. I need to make sure that I can do this before it goes away. And so I'm just like, I'm trying to prioritize that one because it started in Act 1. But then I'm like, wow, how am I not accurately leveled? I have been going around doing all of the side quests and doing all this other stuff. I'm not understanding. So, like that's where I was at the last time that I was playing, and I just kind of set it down and I'm like, okay, I need a breather.
Yeah.
I'm getting mildly irritated with this. But the thing is that I still say that the world building and the characterization and the primary story, the main story, and even some of the side quests, like there's some memorable side quests and things that are going on as well. Like I just finished one. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to spoil it, but it was very memorable and very cool that happens in kind of this lower income area that's over by the river. And it involves like a serial murderer case that you end up getting involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a really memorable resolution to it. So, or optional resolutions to it. There's different ways it could play out. And I saw at least 2 of those. So
I wonder if there's a way to see like maybe different writers were assigned to different quests or something.
I don't know. Like to me, it just feels like those side quests that don't have a payoff were ones where they meant to do more, but they either ran out of funding or ran out of time is how it feels to me.
Okay, so it doesn't feel like different authors.
It doesn't feel like it's different authors per se. I just feel like they just didn't have enough resources to finish it for one reason or another is how it comes across to me. Like an unfortunate, well, we'll just have to wrap this up with a block of text and move on down the road because we're not going to take all the stuff out that leads up to it and we don't have enough resources to finish it. So we're just going to have to wrap it this way, So,
I wish that shitty discourse perverts didn't overuse the word unfinished in relation to games. Oh, let's just throw this word around about any game that I just kind of don't like. Like, oh, this texture was low res, so therefore it's unfinished. Because I feel like that overuse has kind of deadened the term unfinished to talk about something that is very clearly in this case. Like, oh yeah, like I am being... The product that shipped denied me resolution that was implied by the beginning of what it led me down.
Right. And then too, like some of the side quests are things like go here so you can attend a lecture or go here so you can do, like see this art gallery showing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. They have that kind of a content in there, but no, it's a paragraph. And it's like, granted, this isn't the most, earth shattering and pertinent to the story type of thing. But like, it would have been cool to go into the art gallery space and do the thing, and actually have that experience in the game. That would have made it richer. Yeah. And instead, there's these little paragraphs. So, But, yeah, so I mean, like it's showing some of the other things that are a little bit more problematic about it. But at the same time, I think I'm along the same lines as Dog Nozzle, at least right now, being somewhere between a third to a half done with it, where I feel like it's a 7 or a 7.5. If it was just based on the world and the writing and other elements like that, the characters and stuff, I would place it higher, like an 8.5 or a 9. So it's just like the mechanics and some of the resolutions just are not panning out for me in the way that I would hope them to, that would make this a better game, Yeah.
That's a bummer because it sounded like it had a lot of promise.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still going to finish the game one way or the other, but at the same time, it's like, man, like, this was almost a bullseye for me. This would have been a bullseye, even if it's a budget experience or what have you, like lower than a top tier, kind of thing where they are working on a budget. like that's fine. That's not, restrictions can be a positive in some cases,
of course.
Like here, I think it was just like, it just didn't reach what they were intending. It doesn't feel like it's what the people creating it intended with some of those extra side quests and stuff and how they, just buttoned it up, right?
On paper, this should be very much your jam, but in execution, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a letdown.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm still enjoying the characters. I'm still enjoying the overall, like, larger narrative because now that I'm in Act 2, there's a lot more going on, generally speaking. And so, like, some stuff is accelerating. And then, like, there was a cool introduction of, like, a new twist at the end of Act 1 that is making me look forward to seeing more of the story. It's just, there are some things that are drawbacks. So, folks, if they go into this, just need to know that there are some shortcomings they have to deal with.
Yeah. Well, because I was up on the, sandy, rocky shores of Michigan, I didn't get a chance to play an awful lot. Though before I did go, I did download Tetris Forever, which came out last week. And I got to play a little bit of that. And it is another example of Digital Eclipse, the developer behind this, doing what they absolutely need to do for as many classic games as they can. So I talked about this in a NBoss a few weeks back when this was announced. But Tetris Forever is another game kind of in the line of Atari 50. Do you remember this? Like me talking about that, or
is it?
About
I do not recall Atari 50, but
it's like all these different versions of
the
Tetris
fake games company.
No, you're thinking of UFO 50. Dennis, what were you going to say?
This is all these versions of Tetris kind of packaged together. Almost notable from like a preservation standpoint, right?
Yeah, yes. So what Digital Eclipse did with Atari 50, and have done with a couple of other things, like they have a really good collection of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games from across the years, but specifically Atari 50 and now this is almost making like an interactive digital museum.
Very cool.
Which is pretty cool. So like with Atari 50, it was, here is, documentary interview footage along with like old commercials and then high-res scans of boxes, of advertising and, photos of arcade cabinets and stuff kind of presented on this timeline, showing you the story of Atari over all of these games that were put together. And it was a remarkable product. I recommend people get it and check it out, even if the idea of playing Atari games is not especially exciting to you, just in the way that maybe, let's say, playing 16 different versions of Tetris might not be exciting to you. Specifically for the informational content to it. So Tetris, what this is doing is starting with Alexei Pajitnov working over in the Soviet Union and kind of going up through, actually I haven't seen how far it goes through, but telling the story of the creation and proliferation of Tetris in kind of the same way of Atari 50. So like playing a recreation of the original version of Tetris, for a Soviet microcomputer where everything was done with like brackets on a monochrome screen. And then showing like the first like unlicensed computer version. Here's a port that was made for the Famicom. Here's, these different things. And then Tetris successors like Hatris and Bombtris and stuff like that. Again, presented in this timeline with all kinds of interview footage, talking about, specifically what happened. Like there was that Tetris movie that people that came out that I heard nothing about because it was an Atari or it was an Apple TV thing.
Right.
And so nobody has ever watched it. I think only the Obama household gets Apple TV. but I think that, from my experience doing research and doing a bunch of reading about it for the Watch Out for Fireballs special topics episode about Tetris games, I just know that it is, especially interesting as a tale of like all kinds of just backroom deals and meetings with a Nintendo and meetings with just all this stuff. And before that, it was people handing off floppy disks all throughout the Eastern Bloc, and then it broke the Iron Curtain. Like, it's especially cool just how this one simple idea just kind of broke through and took over. Right.
So the Tetris movie, this was like a movie about Tetris, not a movie set in the Tetris universe.
No, this was like
it
was like specifically the story of like the American investor guy who made the deal to get it distributed over here.
That is cool, but also kind of disappointing.
A little bit, yeah. But here, like they have tracked down, again, Digital Eclipse, the studio has tracked down as many people as they could and got them to talk about the stuff on video. And, in a really interesting and engaging way. And then you get to like play the game that they're talking about. I fucking adore it as like a niche that Digital Eclipse has found. And as kind of this thing that really nobody else in like professional game development is doing. The fact that they're making it about a game that I love and a game that I find very interesting is kind of secondary to the care and craft that they put into it.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be cool to see this with more things. I wonder... Like the only other one off the top of my head that comes to mind with something like this would be like Pac-Man. I'd be interested. Are there any other series that have had just like dozens of iterations like this that would make sense to do kind of a bespoke box for?
So based on history, what needs to happen is we need to do a Watch Out for Fireballs special topics episode on Pac-Man. And then 5 years later, there will be a Digital Eclipse version because we also did a special topics about Atari before we did Tetris.
Excellent.
So I think they're waiting for us to break the trail.
Key metric to know that there's enough interest.
Yes. Dennis, you were going to ask something.
I was just wondering if you picked up any tidbits that you had not already heard or anything that was surprising to you.
I'm not through all of it so far. It's just interesting to see these people talk and put it in their own words. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I went through and I kind of dipped in to a bunch of different sections of it just to see. I'm going to go through it linearly when I can. I also checked out the new game they made called, I think, Tetris Time Warp or something like that, which is just kind of a basic modern Tetris game with piece saving and the timeline of upcoming Tetris pieces. But occasionally